McCarthy, look, in the NFL these days, I think you need to rip the Band-Aid off if it's not working, right? I understand that he's a first-round pick. What was he taking, 11th, 12th overall, somewhere in that range, 10th maybe by the Minnesota Vikings, and you want to give that guy an opportunity. But clearly it is not working. If he was a 4th or 5th-round guy, he would not be out on the football field here at this point because he doesn't look like an NFL quarterback out there, and it is very clear. And if you're in a spot where it's like, well, we're going to let him develop a little bit, and, there's going to be some growing pains, but he's showing some flashes. He's not showing any flashes, all right? It is very clear to me, and I know I'm being hard on him, but it's very clear to me that he is not a quarterback in the NFL right now, and it kind of reminds me a lot of the situation the San Francisco 49ers found themselves in with Trey Lance, right? Obviously, they were able to pick him high in the draft, but that roster was ready to go right now. It was ready to compete right now for the San Francisco 49ers, and credit to Kyle Shanahan and Lynch and those guys sitting there saying, we picked this guy in the top 5, but the guy we got last overall is actually better, and he's ready to go right now. We can go play him. Now, unfortunately for Minnesota, there isn't one of those guys on that roster that exists, right? I think a healthy Carson Wentz gives them a better opportunity than J.J. McCarthy, but obviously Wentz is not healthy here at this point. And I just think when you have the team that you have, in Minnesota throughout the course of my life, do they win Super Bowls recently? No, but they know what they're doing, right? It's a well-run, stable organization, top to bottom. They win a bunch of games, and I just feel like a lot of teams around the NFL, they always respect the Minnesota Vikings. Again, are they winning Super Bowls like the Patriots and the Chiefs? No, but they know what they're doing, and they're not, a laughing stock by any stretch of the imagination. And they've got dudes on that roster that are ready to go right now. The term generational talent gets thrown around too much, but I'm going to use it here. You got a top 2 receiver in the National Football League in Justin Jefferson. He's unbelievable. You need to be in the playoffs with that guy, and J.J. McCarthy's holding you back from that, right? You got Jordan Addison there as well, also a really, really good wide receiver. Your defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. Say what you want about him as a head coach, but he is a tremendous defensive coordinator. He's shown that now for several years, and you might not have him next year, right? Maybe he'll get an opportunity to be a head coach again somewhere else, and that will be a huge blow for you. So you're not in a spot as an organization where you can afford to, mess around here and say, well, we're going to keep giving him a chance, and maybe eventually he'll show signs of improvement, right? You're not the Tennessee Titans, right? I'm not quitting on Cam Ward by any stretch of the imagination, but there's no reason for them to blow it up with him now. Like, they're a complete mess. Like, let the kid play and see what you have in him. That's not where you're at with the Minnesota Vikings right now. And unfortunately, there's always these small, or I shouldn't say small decisions, but important decisions that if you miss on, they're going to set you back as a franchise for several years. And I get Sam Darnold had struggled throughout his career as a starter, had been a bit of a journeyman, but he was with the Jets and the Panthers, arguably the 2 most unstable organizations in the NFL. He goes to Shanahan, is the backup to Purdy, and then boom, he goes to Minnesota and leads them to whatever, 14, 15 wins, an incredible year. And Minnesota said, we're good. We got a rookie here that we took in the first round. We appreciate you, Sam, for what you did for us, but we're ready to head in a different direction. Huge mistake for the Minnesota Vikings. Is Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson, or Josh Allen, or Justin Herbert? No, but he's a top 12 quarterback playing like better than that right now, and you can win a bunch of games with Sam Darnold. And if you have a guy that is capable of playing at that level, at that position, you don't just let him go. And Minnesota will let him go. And now they're in a spot here with J.J. McCarthy where they're in a really difficult spot. And I think maybe part of the reason that, I've been so hard on McCarthy is because I've been saying this, since he was picked. I was like, he's getting first-round love here out of Michigan. Like, how is that even possible? I understand he won a national title, and I understand he played well in the games against Ohio State. But for the most part, right, he's under center, turning around, handing the football off, right, and playing defense. That's what Harbaugh did those last few years at Michigan when they were winning a bunch of games, and he wasn't asked to do much. And let's be honest here. He was playing Ohio State, and granted, playing well against Ohio State, but the Big Ten when J.J. McCarthy was playing versus the Big Ten right now with Oregon and USC and these new teams, Washington, not the same, right? They had a lot of layups going through that Big Ten schedule, and then granted, they play well against Ohio State and then have an opportunity beyond that. But just him getting picked at that spot, I didn't understand it, and I think it's time to rip the Band-Aid off if you're the Minnesota Vikings. And on top of his bad performance, he's not available, right? And I do think that's something, and I defend Joe Burrow all the time, and I'll continue to do that, but I think durability is something that should probably be considered a little bit more in this league. And again, I know that's kind of going against myself there with how much I defend Joe Burrow, but a guy like Josh Allen, he doesn't miss starts. He goes out there and he plays every single game. Yeah, he's outstanding too, but they can always count on him being available. On top of J.J. McCarthy not being any good, he's not out there either. Like, this is basically his rookie season, right? He didn't play at all, practice at all last year, and then he had, like, I guess the worst ankle sprain of all time earlier in the year that set him out for several weeks. But let's be clear here, that was a soft benching, and now he's in a situation where it's like, well, all of a sudden he might have a concussion even though he finished out the game. Could this be another soft benching, right, for Kevin O'Connell? So look, I'm sure McCarthy's a fine kid. I don't know him, obviously, but I think you got to rip the Band-Aid off. And I've said it several times on this show. I'm doing everything in my power to get Mac Jones on this team, because Mac Jones with Kevin O'Connell would win a heck of a lot of games. Would win a heck of a lot of games for the Minnesota Vikings. Again, they're not in a spot where they need Lamar or Allen or Mahomes or Burrow to be their quarterback. They got pieces all around. They got a good defense, stable organization, great head coach. They just need someone to step in there and deliver the football, and J.J. McCarthy can't do that. It was run first at Michigan. O'Connell wants to be pass first here with the Minnesota Vikings, and McCarthy is not capable of doing that. Again, the Niners, they did a great job saying, you know what, it stinks. We took him really high, Trey Lance, but it ain't working. We got to go with the other guy because he's actually better. Niners, very much a winning organization. They know what they're doing. Minnesota Vikings, I don't view them on the same pedestal as an organization as the Niners, but I also say, you know what, this isn't the Browns here, right? They're not going to sit here, or even like the Cowboys, like Jerry does this all the time, where he picks a guy and then he just wants to prove, whether it to be to himself or the world, that, oh, it wasn't a bad pick. We're going to keep sending him out there. Winning organizations don't do that. It ain't working. Rip the Band-Aid off and move off him. Mac Jones is the first name that comes to mind. I mean, like, it's bad with J.J. McCarthy. It is really bad. And when you're that bad at that position, your team looks bad. But that's not the case for Minnesota. They got guys all over the place, and they should be winning a heck of a lot more games than they are. And, unfortunately for them, it's been tough sledding with McCarthy there at that quarterback spot. Do you take one in the draft next year? I don't know. I mean, you hear all the time. It's tough, and I love watching college football. But there's these people that don't watch college football, and then going into a year, oh, this quarterback class is going to be great. It's like, no, you have to watch these guys play, right? We were talking about this with Trags. I don't care if you can run really fast and you're really, really strong. I want to see you play good quality football, right? And there haven't been guys at the college level that have really blown you away this year. Obviously, the top two names right now are Mendoza and Ty Simpson. And I think those two guys clearly, as far as guys that are draft eligible, so not including Julian Sayin, are the best two players right now. But are you confident that those guys can play NFL football? I'm definitely not with Mendoza. And, I think Ty Simpson has more NFL traits than Mendoza. But are you over the moon about either one of those guys? No. Right? There's got to be a bridge guy or, a veteran that you can go to. And I think there's several teams out there that should be really considering Mac Jones as a guy that can come in. Now, if I'm the Niners, I don't know if I want him to leave, right? Especially with Purdy getting banged up here, and obviously Purdy playing bad last week. Be nice to have him as the backup. But, I mean, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, you got to have interest in a guy like Mac Jones. And there's several other teams that should be interested as well. There's a reason Mac was taken in the first round. Thought it was a good pick by New England, and played well as a rookie, and then when things crumbled around him, he crumbled along with them, and he's revitalized his career here in San Francisco. It's been awesome to see, and a team like Minnesota should go after him, in my opinion. Rip the Band-Aid off. It's that simple.